There is a secret to finding email copywriting clients, and nobody talks about it. It blows my mind. Luckily for you, I don't mind giving away industry secrets on this channel. In fact, I can't keep a secret. So let's get real for a moment. Put away all the distractions, grab a notepad and pay attention because I'm about to blow your mind. Now, the first thing I want to say to you is that every single method works, okay? It's true. Social media works, UpWork works, Fiverr works, cold emailing works, networking works. Every single method works. But there is a trick to it. Now, I do think that some methods are better for beginners than others. And that's why this video is only going to focus on UpWork and cold emailing, because those are the two that will yield you the best results and the fastest results. So let's start off with UpWork. Now, a lot of people have preconceptions about UpWork. The idea that there is a lot of competition there, that can't earn a lot there, that the client quality on UpWork is low, and that it's just a very difficult platform to kind of come into as a beginner and find clients. Now, I understand those beliefs and I've had them myself. But then at one point, a few years ago, I've just decided to go and try UpWork. And since then, it's been one of my favorite ways to connect with clients. Because the reality is that, yes, there are a lot of people on UpWork that you would consider to be your competition. Most of the people that are your competition are just like you. They are completely new to the platform. They haven't had many projects or any projects at all. And basically you're all on the same boat. So this is actually good news because you're not competing with people who have been there for years and complete experts. The experts, or the people that have stayed with that platform long enough to build up good profiles, they don't really apply for work anymore because they get invited to enough jobs without having to actually go out and send out proposals. And also they have recurring clients, which means that they just don't need to be doing as much client acquisition as the newbies. So obviously this is a positive thing because that means you're not competing with experts, you're competing with people who are in your league. Now, the other side of this story is that the newbies don't really put much effort into their proposals. So most proposals that a client will receive are very basic, like a copy and pasted formula, like, hey, I am this and I can help you do this. And if you don't believe me, then you can create a job posting on UpWork. So basically pretend that you're trying to hire somebody and just sit back and watch the proposals roll in, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. Another thing that people mention a lot before going on to UpWork is, I've seen how much people are willing to pay per hour or per project, and usually it's not a lot of money. If I were you, I wouldn't pay attention to the number that the client puts in their job posting, because most likely it's a placeholder. They just didn't know what to put, so they put something just to be able to actually post the job. In the conversation and as you're negotiating with them, you guys will agree a price that suits you both. The biggest advantage of UpWork really is that the clients are already warm, so they're actually looking for you right now, right this second. They want to start working with somebody. Let's actually go into what you should do. Obviously, when you go into UpWork, you want to fill out your bio and your profile. Now, the things I would focus on the most is having a clear picture of your face, bright, smiley, whatever. And then the bio. Now, don't overthink the bio because your proposals are going to do the heavy lifting in terms of talking with your clients and getting them to start a conversation with you and trust you. It's not so much about the bio. And also, don't worry, like I said, if you don't have testimonials and if you don't have any samples or portfolio, don't worry about that. If you write good proposals, none of that is going to matter, I promise you. Now, the other important step is selecting the right jobs. Most people go on there and they just try to apply for any job that comes up. But if you're smart about it, you can use your time better. So for example, go for jobs that have less than 50 proposals, less than 20 proposals. The less proposals there are, the higher your chances of having yours opened and having a conversation with a client. Then obviously, try to go for ones that give you more information, because that means that you have more leverage in your proposal. And I always try to read between the lines. What is the client actually looking for? What are they asking for? From what they had written, how knowledgeable are they on the topic? Should I be using jargon or should I be simplifying things? Most of the time I try to use the same words that they have used, because that means, we're actually going to understand each other. If you try to use your jargon and you're not matching the jargon of the client, there's likely to be miscommunication. They just don't feel as connected because you're speaking a different language, essentially. Then always remember that the purpose of your proposal is not to sell yourself. It's just to start a conversation with your client, because you don't want to work with everybody either, right? Just like your client is going to speak to a couple of different freelancers or a few different freelancers before making their decision to make sure that they are the right fit for them, for the company, and for the job. It's the same for you. You should be looking for clients who are a good fit. So they're going to accept your terms, they're going to be able to pay your rates, and you guys will just have a good connection, and the working environment will be pleasurable. So you just want to take that into consideration. And also with email marketing, you don't want to take on a client that is essentially running a brand that doesn't stand a chance. Like, you don't want to get yourself in a situation where you're working with a brand that doesn't have a good product market fit, for example, or that doesn't just have a solid brand or a solid product, and then you're working extra trying to bring them some results, but the odds are already against you because the brand is just not good. So you want to do your due diligence. That's why you just want to start a conversation, and then you want to talk with them and find out about who they are and what they do, and then you make the decision whether you want to work with them or not. And I think this also takes a lot of pressure off your shoulders, because a lot of people think that they need to sell themselves through the proposal, but actually you just want a conversation. Now, another thing that a lot of freelancers admit is they don't include any personality in their proposals. So they make them very bland. They try to kind of be as neutral as possible. Now, while in some cases being neutral might be the right choice, in most cases, it's just going to get you lost in the crowd. You want to stand out with the way that you write. You want your writing, you want your personality to be present. You want to sprinkle it in here and there. You want the proposal to be very conversational. It doesn't need to be long. It doesn't need to be super elaborate, but it just needs to be a little bit different. And then obviously when it comes to the call to action, for your prospect, you want to make it something easy. Maybe ask them a simple question. It could be offering a custom sample or a Klaviyo audit. But you want to think about it in terms of, what's a low friction call to action in this moment just to get the conversation started. Actually, your biggest hurdle on UpWork is getting your proposal opened. You'll very quickly realize that when people are receiving a lot of proposals, it's very easy to just miss yours. Like, imagine if you received 100 Instagram DMs right now and they all started with hi, 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 hi. You probably wouldn't read through all of them. You just don't have the time or the will. I personally don't. I would just delete my Instagram account in that instance. And your prospective client is experiencing something like that. Their inbox immediately gets flooded with, 50 proposals, and most of them start with hi, hi, my name is whatever, or hi, I can do this for you, or hi, I would love to help, right? And this is good. They're very conversational ways to start a message. However, when you have 100 of messages like that, it's just not ideal. So you really want to think about what you write in that first sentence. And I always say it this way. If you were in a crowd of people and you saw your friend on the other side and you wanted to get their attention, what would you do? You'd probably start screaming their name, right? Like, Becky, Becky. If you didn't know the person's name, you try to identify them by something else. Like, if they had a blue jumper on, you'd be like, hey, girl in a blue jumper, or hey, girl with wavy hair, or whatever, right? On Upwork, this is equivalent to finding their name, and you might be able to do that if you scroll down to the reviews that other freelancers have left for this client. Maybe somebody mentioned their name. Maybe it could be something about the location. If you don't have anything that could identify them, you could also just think about, okay, how do I get myself in front of them and grab their attention, right? So it could just be by starting the proposal with something strange or a question or a word that's a little bit attention grabbing. And it doesn't matter if it's something ridiculous. You can explain it to them later, like in the actual proposal, just being like, hey, by the way, I just did that to get your attention because I know your inbox is full. So that's the biggest hurdle, and that's how you overcome it. Now, the trick that nobody really talks about, most people think that, if I apply to 10 jobs on UpWork, I should be able to land a client, and they do that and nothing happens, right? And then people get discouraged straight away, and they're like, okay, this isn't working. Just like with any other client acquisition method, you should think about how you can keep it a consistent habit. So it could be applying to something every day, or it could be applying to something 3 times a week, but then keeping this consistent. Like, imagine you have to do this for the rest of your life and you keep going. I'm not saying it's going to take you your entire lifetime. However, you should just come into it with this mindset of consistency. I'm just going to do this every single day and I'm going to focus on it. I'm not going to flip between different client acquisition methods. I'm just going to stick to this one. And if you do that, you're going to get some conversations started. You're going to connect with business owners, and then it's going to become a habit. And then you're going to be exposed to more work on UpWork because you're going to be there every single day. Okay, now let's talk about cold emailing. So the main difference is that the people on UpWork are warm. They're already looking. The people that you'll be cold emailing, there's a high chance that they're not really looking for somebody to come in and join and do their email marketing. But don't get discouraged. Sometimes they're not looking just because they don't have time, or it's in the back of their mind, or it's on their to-do list, but they just haven't done it. So when you reach out, you'll be like a blessing sent from the heavens. So the advantage of cold emailing in comparison to UpWork is that you get to do a lot of research on the brand and on their email marketing channel before you reach out to them, right? You can find out how much they're making. You can go into the email channel and see what's good and what's not so good. And this gives you so much leverage for when you're actually writing to them. Like, you can come in with a custom sample, or you can come in with a creative strategy or some ideas and immediately blow their mind. Now, I would recommend that what you do is you start searching. So you can go into Google, use this little formula like my site Shopify, and then just type in a keyword. And that's going to come up with different Shopify stores. And you can start this way. And this is going to help you also look for brands in a niche that you're interested in, and make a list of 100 brands that you would like to work with, that you think are cool. And then you're going to go and do more research on them to find out the size of the company, to find out who's behind it, the story behind it, and obviously sign up to their email marketing channels to see what they're already doing. And then you're going to go through them one by one, and the ones that qualify. So if you go and see that the email marketing channel is underdeveloped, great. That means you can use that to your advantage, and actually when you reach out to them, you'll have more ideas and more leverage to come in as a professional and make things better right away. And then, just go through them one by one. Make sure you're emailing the right person. So use like an email finder tool. Most of them are free. And then, reach out to them, write a cool email. Don't do like the fake compliment thing, like, oh, congratulations on whatever, if there's nothing genuine that you can say to them. But do come in and say, hey, I really like your brand. In fact, I did a lot of research on your brand. And I had some cool ideas and I'd love to share them, or I even have a custom sample for you, whatever. And just go in there and send those emails. And again, you have to stay consistent, and you have to think about, I'm just starting a conversation with them. They don't have to hire me right away. Maybe they'll never hire me, but I'm actually interested in creating a connection with this person and with this brand. And I'm happy to share my ideas and kind of come into the conversation with them. And that again takes the pressure off you trying to sell yourself in a cold email. And also opens you up to more genuine connections with business owners. And I also recommend that you track your emails to see if they're being opened, if they are clicking the links and whatever. So obviously there are free tools as well, called like email tracking software or whatever. Some of them are just plugins for Google Chrome and stuff, so you can just do that. You don't have to spend any money, and that's going to help you see how you're doing and if your emails are being delivered, if they're being opened, and obviously you'll know if they get a response or not. Again, the trick to cold emailing is consistency, and also just coming in as a valuable person, as someone who wants to serve the brand, and just being genuine and conversational. And the other trick is obviously doing your due diligence on the brand before you reach out to them. You don't want to be reaching out to brands that can't afford to hire somebody right now, or are so big that you would never be able to like slot in there as a freelancer because they just need someone who's going to work in-house. The due diligence is just going to help you when you're pitching. It's going to give you more leverage, and it's going to make the process easier for you. Now, I did prepare a PDF which explains like how to actually do the research on a brand. I'm just not going to explain it in this video because it's too long, but the PDF is linked below. Now, obviously, you get it by joining my email list, where I write almost daily about copywriting and email marketing. It's all super helpful and practical stuff. You are more than welcome. I would love to have you there. Okay, so right now you're probably asking yourself, how long is it going to take me to find my first client? Now, if you stay consistent for the next 30 days and you put in work every single day, you should have your first client by the end of the 30 days. However, if you get to the end of the 30 days and you don't have your first client, don't worry, I have prepared a troubleshooting part of this video. So we'll go into it now, but take notes so that you can go back to them later. Okay, so the first question you're going to ask yourself is, have I been consistent? Did I do what I know I was supposed to do, or did I not do it? If you didn't stay consistent and you didn't do enough, here's your answer. This is why you don't have a client. But let's say that you stayed consistent, but you didn't get a client. So the second thing you're going to ask yourself is, have my proposals or cold emails been opened? Obviously, if they haven't been opened, that means this is why you don't have a client, because nobody even saw what you wrote. But if they have been opened, like if people have actually been opening what you'd written, but that nobody responded to you and nobody took action based on that, that means you need to change the way you write the proposals. So, or the cold emails. And this could be to do with the call to action that you include at the end, and maybe experiment with something different, something easier. And also look at your emails and your proposals and ask yourself, what could I do better? Is it conversational? Am I just doing that thing everybody else is doing? Is this something that could be putting people off? Am I coming in with something that differentiates me, like my personality or my ideas or whatever? If they're not getting opened, then obviously on UpWork, you need to think about that first line. That's the first thing. The second thing is you need to reevaluate the gigs that you're applying for. If you're applying for stuff that has like 100 proposals already, well, there's a lower chance of it being opened. So maybe try to filter the gigs you're applying for and only go for ones that have less than 20 proposals, as an example. Another thing is maybe you're applying for stuff too late. Like, was it posted 2 weeks ago? The likelihood is that they already hired somebody. So they're not even checking those messages. So again, just pay attention to that. If it's cold emails, first of all, are they not being opened because like your subject line or something about your subject line that just makes it look like it's not a personal email? Are you reaching out to the right people? Like, is the email address correct? And also, if you've been sending out a lot of emails and it's a new email address that you just started for this purpose, your emails could be going to spam because you went for a lot, you went for the quantity as opposed to writing quality emails. And you just did too much and too fast. And that's why probably your emails are landing in spam and nobody is reading them. Could also be with the time of the day that you send it out. If someone has a busy inbox, and you're sending it out like in the middle of the night or something, and by the time they wake up or check their emails, they've already had like a bunch of emails. They might just miss yours. I mean, believe it or not, some people have like thousands of emails in their inboxes. Now, if you are getting responses and you start a conversation and then they just disappear and ghost you, this means there's a problem with the way you close the client. So either your pitch is not good enough, your offer is not good enough, you come across as incompetent or inconfident, you don't really know how to lead the client through the conversation, you take too long. It could be a bunch of things. So I would just recommend picking up a book or reading more or learning more about how to close sales and how to close a client, and just rethinking that process of like what happens when we start a conversation. Could also be that you're just not following up and need to learn to follow up, and because sometimes people just get busy, and you just need to keep constantly reaching out to them. Sometimes it's about like, reaching out every 2 weeks, but not just like, hey, just following up on this, but literally like in a conversational way, like, hey, how's that thing we talked about the last time or whatever. And you need to focus on the relationship building aspect of client acquisition. It's not just about your service, it's about building a relationship with them so that they learn to trust you and like you, and then they will be willing to hand over money to you for that service. And now the last thing we want to address is probably right now you're thinking, yeah, but that's not going to work for me because insert generic excuse. I just want to say that's BS. There are people like you out there doing this every single day. Don't let yourself get discouraged just because you lack a little bit in confidence. There's nothing wrong with feeling like, okay, I'm new, I don't really know what to do. But there's a difference between allowing that to derail you and just moving past that with strength and with courage and just being like, I'm just going to try. So I do encourage you to try. Now, if you have any questions, of course, you can leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to grab the PDF that I mentioned earlier. It's going to help you. It's always good to be equipped with these skills. And of course, subscribe and like the video if you did find it useful. And I just encourage you to try this for the next 30 days. And I promise you that you will get some kind of a result, whether that is your first client, whether it's learning how to pitch, whether it's learning how to get better at closing clients, whether it's starting some conversations and building relationships with clients. All of these things are positive. So even if you don't get a client by the end of the 30 days, you still would have learned a lot if you give it time, if you give yourself time to reflect, and that's going to be a good thing. So I wish you all the best, and hopefully you will let me know when you have your first client in the comments underneath this video. See you next time.